Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Moonday message. I'm so glad to have you here with me right now. And tonight we're going to talk about a few things, the most important of which is our goddess Oya. Mhm. So, how's everybody doing? Good. All right, here we go. So, the first thing I wanted to do, because we're having so much um, shifting going on, and we'll talk about that when it comes time to talk about our goddess of the week that you really need to know. And just the other day, I was looking for something else, and I came upon uh, this is I don't know if you can see it, but it is a tarot card carrying case that was given to me by my daughter. I think she got it in Texas when she went there to visit friends. And I had been keeping my um, mythical goddess tarot in that folder. So that means I found my cards too. So I'm so happy. And so in order to get started, how did I end up going down there? Oops, now I see myself again. Okay, um, let's get some things taken care of. And we're going to start with lighting our beautiful candle. And now something I also found was I had this beautiful mugwort bundle. And you know, a lot of times it's so hard to keep these things lit. This thing will not go out for anything. I literally had to cut off the parts that were on flame to get it to turn on. So let's give a little clearing of our energy. We're going to be very grateful and thankful to Oya tonight because she is an air goddess. And anything that smokes or vaporizes, like water or vapor, anything like that, is being or is acting as an element of air. So here we go. Let's bless our space. I'm going to bless this space here. I'm going to bless myself, having smoke for your energy. And I don't know if you guys know this, but it has actually been scientifically proven that smoking, I don't say smudging because that really is a term Native American people use, but smoking or burning incense or different herbs and things, smoking has been shown to actually clear energy. And what happens is that harmful molecules in the air will attach themselves to the smoke, and the smoke will lift away and be taken away on the air. This works particularly well with outdoor ceremonies, obviously, because in your own house, when you are smudging, it helps to open the window so that the air can circulate a little bit better, right? And that those harmful particles can actually be removed and not just up on your ceiling or the roof, whatever. So here we go, darlings. Let us pick a card for it tonight and see what we get. I'm going to hold it up here a little bit so you can see. Just doing shuffling like this. And I'm just going to pick right from the top, and we're going to get the Nine of Fire. Ooh, this is very interesting. And this in this deck, it stands for integrity. These cards are so beautiful. This is one of the reasons why I really love them so much. And that these are called tarot cards, but they're really more oracle cards in the sense that you are given the meaning here, right? You don't even have to worry about what it means. So here we have integrity, and I find it very important too that we got the number nine, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Why the number nine is important. The number nine usually stands for like the completion of a cycle, right? You get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you start again at a higher level. Now you instead of starting at 0, you start at 10, and then you get 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then you start again at a higher level, 20, with 2 0, right? So it's important to recognize how these cycles are moving upward, okay, as or outward, depending on how you look at it, as the vibration shifts and changes, and it's all in a spiral. Okay, so rather than it being like a big number chart, like when I used to teach kindergarten or first grade, right? We'd always have these big number charts in the room going from 0 to 100, but actually would go from 1 because there would be no 0, but that's another story. But this would also be a way of demonstrating, how the numbers move and how they go upward a level each time. So at any rate, we want to get into talking about our lovely warrior goddess Oya today. And this is part of my series of 5 goddesses you really need to know. And I did not really include Isis because I talk about her a lot. I would say she's the number 1 goddess you need to know. And one of the things I'll show you is, I can get in my purse. This happens to be the book I'm reading right now, right? The Sibyls, and it talks about Mami Wata, and it also talks about how the Mami Wata actually came from an Isis cult, and why it's so important to understand that the ancient Sibyls, the prophetesses, how their practices were co-opted by the Christian church. And, I say this all the time. I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why. But there's so much that goes on in the Christian church that is actually taken from paganism. And part of that is because this is what people were already practicing. So it's not that hard if you say, okay, well, on this day you were celebrating Isis, and now on this day you're going to celebrate Mother Mary instead, right? It's not that hard because people still want to celebrate the same times of the year. They don't want to give up their festival time, right? But it's very interesting to note just how much of this ancient divine feminine culture finds its way into the ancient world, the rest of the ancient world, and into Christianity. Very, very, very interesting. And I really must say that I find this fascinating. How sometimes people can be so indoctrinated or so invested. That's the word I want. Not indoctrinated, but so invested in particular beliefs that they leave no room or no opening for new ideas and new thoughts and new ways of looking at things. And I think that is part of what we all need to be doing right now, is to be divesting ourselves from our strict adherence to particularly patriarchal beliefs, and recognizing where a lot of them come from. And that, I don't know how to say this. I'm getting people mad at me, so I'm just going to say it. But, we all need to learn that when we're talking about having faith or venerating people that came before us, that before there were any Abrahamic religions or any other patriarchal religions, because there's plenty of them that don't necessarily stem from Abraham, but that before any of that, there was the goddess. Before we had any formalized pantheons of gods and goddesses and different things, we still had that great goddess, that great mother goddess. And I think that we need to still honor that. We still need to find value in that. And that, um, I guess many times we get so wrapped up in being right or being in our particular faith that we don't recognize that there's so much more to divinity than sometimes even what we learn in church or synagogue or mosque or any other temple place, and that as the divine feminine continues to rise, we're going to see many, many more people recognizing and returning to a broader, expansive view of spirituality. And I think that's been happening for years with people saying, well, I'm not in a particular faith, but I do believe in the divine. I do believe in something bigger than and grander than myself. And that is not to say that we need to return to a time when the only divinity that we acknowledged was the divine feminine. I'm not saying that either. And that has never been my mission on this planet um, to encourage people, particularly women, to abandon the divine masculine, because the divine masculine and the divine feminine work hand in hand. But here's the thing: on our planet, in our universe, that divine feminine has been so denigrated that she needs help in returning to her former glory and former power. In the same way that womankind across the globe needs help returning to her former glory and power. And that is not to say that, we don't need men and we should ship them off somewhere or do them in, but we should acknowledge that there is inequality, that there is a reverence for things masculine and not things feminine. By the same token, there is globally the phenomenon of anti-blackness. There just is. And so we need to acknowledge that if any aspect of humanity has been denigrated, has been marginalized, has been put to the side, it is time to reintegrate their energies into the whole in a powerful way. And this is why, if you're watching this from the good old USA, you know that our government is doing a heck of a lot to make sure that people who are in marginalized communities, whether it be women, whether it be minorities as far as ethnic or racial minorities, be it people who are in the LGBTQ plus two spirit tradition, get rid of everybody. Get rid of everybody. It's down to the point where we are now considering maybe getting rid of not only gay marriage but interracial marriage. I mean, this stuff is crazy. So that means that the marriage I had would have been illegal. Not just frowned upon by quite a number of people I knew, but it would have been illegal. So it is time for us to take up that fire energy that we have here and to find the integrity within ourselves to make sure that we personally are not contributing to the marginalization, to the weakening of any group, and that any group that has been traditionally marginalized or set aside, that we begin, if we haven't done so already, to help uplift that community, even if we don't belong to it. Even if we don't belong to it. And that doesn't mean we go in there like, well, I know what everybody needs in order for people to advance. It means being willing to open up, to listen, to deconstruct the ideas that you may have had about people in the past and open up to new visions of what can be in the future. but only if we quit aiding that part of patriarchal society that stratifies us, that um, that puts one above the other, that shuns people to the side if they don't fit the right um, image. So it's up to each of us to make that decision of how we're going to behave in the world. And this is why I love the goddess Oya. Most of us are kind of familiar with the X-Men. I hope a lot of us are familiar with the X-Men. And why is this shining right in my... Is this what I'm seeing here? Nope. It's this I'm seeing over here. Okay. Right in my eyeball. Anywho. So, getting back to Marvel. If you have seen anything with the X-Men and you've seen Storm in it, you are looking at a version of the Oya goddess. In fact, there are many times where Storm will call on the goddess. She'll say, "Oh, goddess, help me," or whatever. And the goddess that she is calling upon is Oya. Oya is a goddess from the Yoruba pantheon, meaning the same where you'll find Yamaya, you'll find Oshun, you'll find Ogun, Obatala, and many others, and those are gods and goddesses. I'm not trying to pick out one or the other, but this is the same Yoruba pantheon where you will find in Lukume and Santeria here in the U.S. or Ifa. And so she is one of the most powerful goddesses in this pantheon. And she, as I said, is a storm goddess. She is an air goddess and to some degree a water goddess, because one of the things that she tends to rule is hurricanes. So all of these storms that we get that start over there or come across the Caribbean, um, they are her province. Okay, she is a protector of women and children, and she is definitely a warrior goddess. If you're looking for her vibration outside of this tradition, I would say she most reminds me of the energy of Kali, because her change and transformation, and that's what she's a goddess of, is very swift. It's not like a delicate change. Like, say, if you were to think about Demeter from the Greek pantheon, right? Her change is subtle, meaning that she will go through all four seasons, right? And that's her change. That's her cycle. Oh yeah, it's not like that. She's like, okay, now you wanted something done? Boom, here we go. I will be the storm in your life that will sweep away whatever is no longer serving you, whatever doesn't suit you. I'll clear out the old. I'll clear out bad energies. I'll clear out whatever needs to be cleared out. But don't expect me to stand around and wait forever for that to happen. Okay, she's like the hurricane or the cyclone or I was going to say tornado that will come through and has the power to destroy and to lay waste, but also to leave a clear path behind her. And in some sense, it reminds me of this movie that came out. I think they did a remake of it, and I refuse to watch it because I love the old one so much, because it's so bad it's good, right? And the name of the movie is Twister. And there's a point where the main protagonists in the movie, male and female, are caught in a barn during a twister. And when they come out, they realize that even though the tornado has torn up everything in its path, it left the house where the people lived untouched. So that the action of Oya are very precise. Okay, she's not just tearing up everything. Okay, she is very precise in knowing exactly what to take away and what to leave behind. Okay, she also is her favorite number is number 9, and so this is symbolic of transitions and completions, as we talked about before. And so this is really what she is representing to each of us when she comes into our lives: the ending of one cycle and the beginning of a new one. Okay? Um, for offerings, she loves eggplants. She loves coins. She loves red wine, which I'm going to go have some red wine in a minute, and cloth. She is generally worshipped at the banks of the Niger River, and her colors are red, purple, burgundy, and her day is Thursday. So, if you want to interact with Oya, as we know, Yoruba traditions like and Santeria and Wakume and Iva are considered closed practices, meaning that you need to be initiated into them to fully understand and connect with the energy of their pantheon of gods and goddesses. Okay? That doesn't mean that Oya can't have a message for you. Okay, doesn't mean you can't connect with her, but to truly understand, appreciate, and be in the practice of her veneration, you need to be initiated, or at least a part of that um, community to fully participate. It's like any other mystery school. You can have connection with gods and goddesses of any tradition, okay? But in order to fully be connected with them, it requires um, initiation, or at least being part of the community. I even think of it as kind of like when you look at the, now you know I was raised Catholic, right? The sacraments in the Catholic tradition, right? Anybody can go to church. Absolutely anybody can go to a Catholic church. Okay. But in order to really understand what are considered to be the mysteries of the Catholic Church, you need to have the different sacraments or initiations of that church, right? So, um, so when you are baptized, this is the declaration of your parents to raise you in a particular way. That is what that is the obligation of the parents. But as you grow older in the church, you become more and more responsible for your own teachings and your own adoption of the Catholic faith. Right? It's the same thing wherever you go, to really understand the mysteries of that particular faith or practice. You gotta meet them where they are, right? Meet it where they are in terms of being initiated into different levels of practice. So moving on, the reason why I feel we really need Oya right now is that, aren't we in the middle of a storm? Aren't we in the middle of all kinds of craziness going on in our country and the world? Even though the United States may seem like the craziest place, there's other places around the world that are in upheaval, in torment, in famine, in war, um, and a lot of places, particularly in the African continent, that are taking back their sovereignty from the European countries that have been taking their resources for decades. So there's a lot going on in the world, and we do need that energy of clearing away what is no longer serving us as countries, as nations, as individuals, as families. Whatever we don't need, it needs to be swept away. Because as I have said many times, the divine feminine is rising, and that with her, she does tend to bring the chaos. Okay? She does tend to bring a lot of rapid change as well as slow change. So you end up kind of being like in a whirlwind that has gone at two different speeds. But we do need to honor her and call on her to work on our behalf in order to help clear away what no longer serves. Because a lot of what we're seeing around the world, especially authoritarian governments rising up, is because of the rise of the divine feminine. It's not like the antithesis of it. It's like saying, it's like a, what do you call it, a seesaw, right? Or a teeter totter. That's what I'm thinking about. That goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, or a pendulum, right? So when the pendulum swings one way, there's inertia that will pull it the other way, right? And if the pendulum goes this way, the inertia will pull it this way, right? All part of the gravitational force. And that's what's happening. The minute we get to one point over here where things seem to be loosening up so much or whatever, there's that pull, and this is representing the divine feminine, and that pull of the patriarchy pulling us back. But one thing that we also have to recognize is that the polarity of the earth itself is changing, and with it, the differing amounts of masculine and feminine energies on the planet. Now, by masculine and feminine energies, I don't mean when people, people say, well, men are strong and blah, 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 and women are receptive. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I mean that if you look at the yin yang symbol, right? You see like one chasing the dark part, chasing the white part, right? Going around and around. And in the white part there is black, and in the black part there is white. And that's because nothing is absolute. Nothing is absolutely one thing. And that wherever you find one, you always find a piece of the other. But they are chasing each other. And so when divine masculine energy reaches its peak, nope, then divine feminine takes over. And so this is what's happening on our planet. So we are going through a phase where we will be returning to much more of a feminine approach to things, and maybe perhaps for the first time a balance between masculine and feminine. Rather than the pendulum swinging all the way to one side, right? It will find equilibrium in the middle, somewhere in here, somewhere in the middle, where we can remain. Okay, and that is what I hope for all of us as we go forward. So I thank you all for being with me here tonight, and we will talk again soon. In fact, next week we're going to talk about our final goddess that you must know in order to have a great 2025. So thank you again, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.